the Mandela Effect. Imagine remembering something with complete confidence. You can picture it. You can almost hear it. You'd even be willing to argue about it. Then you discover it never happened the way you remember, not just for you, but for thousands, sometimes millions of other people. How is that possible? This strange phenomenon has become known as the Mandela Effect. The name comes from an unexpected observation. Many people became convinced that Nelson Mandela had died in prison during the 1980s. In reality, he was released from prison, later became president of South Africa, and lived until 2013. The surprising part wasn't that a few people remembered incorrectly. It was that so many people shared the same incorrect memory. Since then, the internet is filled with similar examples. Movie quotes people remember differently. Brand logos recalled with missing or extra details. Children's book titles remembered one way, even though official copies show something else. Some people see these shared memory errors as evidence of parallel universes. Others suggest reality itself has somehow changed. They're fascinating ideas. But what does the evidence actually say? Psychologists have spent decades studying how memory works, and their findings point toward a simpler, yet equally remarkable explanation. Human memory is not a perfect recording. It's a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, your brain combines pieces of stored information, general knowledge, expectations, and patterns it has learned over a lifetime. Sometimes, different people make remarkably similar reconstructions, especially when words, images, or stories naturally lead the brain toward the same conclusion. Think about how your brain finishes familiar phrases. If someone says, "Twinkle, twinkle," you don't consciously search your memory. The next words appear almost instantly. Your brain predicts them. Memory works in much the same way. It constantly fills gaps using what seems most likely. Usually, those predictions are accurate. Occasionally, they are not. Researchers have shown that people can develop surprisingly similar false memories after hearing the same suggestions, reading similar information, or repeatedly discussing an event with others. Over time, confidence grows. The memory feels stronger. Yet confidence alone doesn't guarantee accuracy. In fact, some of the strongest memories people hold can still contain small but important errors. So, does the Mandela Effect prove that reality has changed? Science has found no reliable evidence that it does. Instead, it offers something just as extraordinary, a glimpse into how millions of human brains can process information in remarkably similar ways. The same mental shortcuts, the same expectations, the same patterns. Not because our minds are identical, but because they are built using many of the same principles. And perhaps that's the real mystery. Not why people remember differently, but why is the brain so skilled at creating stories that feel completely true? Stories we defend, stories we trust, stories we rarely question, until one unexpected moment forces us to look again. Because if millions of people can confidently remember something that never happened, how many other hidden shortcuts shape your understanding of the world every single day? To answer that, we have to examine one final piece of the puzzle: the remarkable way your brain quietly rewrites reality itself. Your brain is predicting the future. What if everything you've learned so far was connected? The missed gorilla, the false memories, the optical illusions, the Mandela Effect. They all point toward one extraordinary idea. Your brain isn't simply waiting for reality to happen. It's constantly trying to predict it. Right now, before your eyes finish sending information, before your ears finish processing sound, your brain is already making educated guesses about what comes next. It predicts the words you're about to hear, the face you're about to recognize, the object you're about to pick up, the road ahead while you're driving, the melody of a familiar song before the next note is played. Most of the time, those predictions are so accurate, you never notice them. Imagine walking through your own home late at night. Even in near darkness, you know where the furniture is. You reach for the light switch without seeing it. You avoid bumping into the table. How? Because your brain isn't waiting to discover where everything is. It already has a model of your surroundings. Your senses simply update that model. Many neuroscientists describe perception as a constant conversation. One direction carries information from your eyes, your ears, your skin. The other carries predictions from your brain. Reality and expectation meet somewhere in the middle. Most of the time, they agree. When they don't, your brain quickly adjusts. This process is astonishingly efficient. Without it, crossing a busy street, catching a ball, reading this sentence, or recognizing a friend's voice would become dramatically slower. Prediction allows the brain to respond almost instantly. It's one of the reasons humans navigate such a complex world so effectively. But every prediction comes with a trade-off. Sometimes, the brain predicts something that isn't there. A shadow becomes a person. A sound becomes a voice. A familiar pattern appears where none exists. Your expectations quietly shape your perception, not because your senses failed, but because your brain was trying to help. Scientists continue exploring this idea using advanced brain imaging, virtual reality experiments, and computational models. Although many questions remain, a growing body of evidence suggests that prediction plays a central role in how the brain interprets the world. In other words, perception isn't simply about seeing. It's about predicting, testing, correcting, and predicting again, thousands of times every second. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Your brain isn't trying to build a perfect copy of reality. It couldn't. There's simply too much information. Instead, it builds the most useful version of reality it can. Fast enough to help you survive. Flexible enough to help you learn. Accurate enough to guide your everyday life, even if it occasionally gets things wrong. So, if your memories can change, if your attention can miss the obvious, if your eyes can be fooled, and if your brain is constantly predicting the world around you, one final question remains. Can you ever truly trust your own mind? The answer may be even more surprising than everything we've discovered so far. So, after everything we've explored, the Miss Gorilla, the memories that quietly changed over time, the optical illusions, the Mandela Effect, the brain's endless predictions, what can we honestly conclude? Perhaps the first surprise is this. Your brain isn't trying to deceive you, not in the way the word lie usually implies. It has a far more important job, keeping you alive. Every second of every day, your brain is making millions of calculations, filtering information, predicting danger, recognizing familiar faces, interpreting sounds, building memories, and transforming an overwhelming flood of sensory information into a world that feels stable, meaningful, and understandable. Without those shortcuts, you couldn't carry on a conversation, drive a car, read a book, or even walk across a crowded room. The same mental processes that occasionally fool you are also the reason you function so effortlessly. That's the remarkable trade-off. Your brain values efficiency over perfection. It doesn't record reality like a camera. It interprets reality. It builds the most useful version it can using experience, prediction, emotion, and memory. Most of the time, that version is astonishingly accurate. Sometimes, it isn't. And those rare moments allow scientists to glimpse the hidden machinery behind human perception. For centuries, people believed that seeing meant knowing, that remembering meant accuracy, that confidence meant certainty. Modern neuroscience tells a more fascinating story. Seeing is interpretation. Memory is reconstruction. Confidence is a feeling, not proof. The mind we trust every day is constantly adapting, updating, and revising its understanding of the world. And that's one of the reasons humans have survived for so long. The next time you confidently remember a conversation, pause before assuming every detail is perfect. The next time you overlook something obvious, remember that attention has limits. The next time an optical illusion fools your eyes, smile, because you're witnessing your brain doing exactly what evolution shaped it to do, not failing, working. Perhaps the greatest mystery was never whether the brain lies. Perhaps the real mystery is how 86 billion neurons create consciousness, transform light into color, sound into language, and electrical signals into memories, emotions, dreams, and ideas. Despite centuries of scientific discovery, we still don't fully understand how that happens. And that's what makes the human brain one of the greatest frontiers left to explore. Every unanswered question leads to another. Every discovery reveals a deeper mystery. And somewhere inside the organ that allowed you to watch this documentary, the answers are waiting to be found. Not because your brain is perfect, but because it is extraordinary. The greatest illusion isn't that your brain sometimes deceives you. It's that it allows you to experience a rich, meaningful world at all. If today's investigation changed the way you think about your own mind, our next documentary explores another mystery hidden inside it. I'm talking about your dreams. Why does your brain create entire worlds while you sleep? Every night, your brain becomes a storyteller. The next mystery begins there.